Good day, sisters and brothers, One Nation Tribal Alliance, community and friends and family, brothers and sisters near and far. Today, again, I am continuing on with my 10 video challenge, and I believe this is going to be my number 7. So after this, I'm going to have 3 more. So you got 3 more coming after this one. Today, I'm going to share with you some of the folklores of Zuni. And this one is very, um, to us, is very special. To the Zuni people, it's very special because we have been challenged by many ways. And one of the challenges that we have about this place is that we had a mining company try to come in and start coal mine strip mining in the area, but with the tribes around the area and Zuni being supported by tribes like Navajo, Acoma, Hopi, Laguna. They all got together and they petitioned the Bureau of Land Management, and the permit to mine was not granted. So that was a victory for the Zuni people on this land. So before I get too carried away about what I'm going to talk to you all about, let me get to my screen again and pop up the PowerPoint presentation that I'm going to do. Okay, let me see. And boom. Well, there it is, but I got to do one other thing. And there it is. There it is. Today, again, as I say, I'm going to share with you folklore of the Zuni Salt Lake. And again, you know who I am. And this is our One Nation Tribal Alliance seal, which is the medicine wheel. And this presentation brought to you by One Nation Tribal Alliance, because again, it's a 10 video challenge that I have accepted, and I hope you all are enjoying them. So let's go ahead and enjoy this as I present this to you. So, next slide is here it is. This is a picture aerial photo of Zuni Salt Lake. And Zuni Salt Lake is in the Cantron County of New Mexico, and it's very interesting. But this is a aerial view on top of the whole Salt Lake. So I'm gonna read you a little history about how the first contact got to find out about the Zuni Salt Lake. For centuries, the Pueblo people of the Southwest, which included Acoma, Laguna, Navajo, Hopi, and Taos Pueblos, have made pilgrimages to the Salt Lake to harvest salt for both culinary and ceremonial purposes. And on the ceremonial purpose part, and the Navajo way is that if you make a baby laugh, you have to give them salt. And the Zuni way is that the first time you go out and get the salt, your in-laws will come and bless the salt. And for all your hard work, if they feel sorry for you, they may leave you some. But if not, they'll grab the whole salt that you mined and brought home and take it home with them. So that's one of the ceremonies people do. But on the second time, it's all yours. So the first time we'll go for your, you know, in-laws. But anyway, ancient pathways radiate out from the Salt Lake to various ancient Pueblo sites, such as Chaco Canyon site. The lake itself is considered spiritual, home of Mother Deity. To us Zunis, is known as Matlokatsiki. Now, salt from Zuni Salt Lake was traded extensively within the Chaco culture. During early years of Chaco culture, salt was traded among Pueblos and other tribes throughout. because salt grains matching those from the Salt Lake have been found in a corn husk wrappings in the archaeological sites on the San Juan Basin. San Juan Basin is the Four Corners area. That because before it became a San Juan Basin, there's a river that goes through that they also named San Juan River. So it goes through the Four Corners, comes from the Colorado, goes through the Four Corners area, and goes all the way to the Grand Canyon. That river does. So that's the San Juan Basin that they're talking about here. Now, salt from the Salt Lake was being traded, extensively by the Zuni at the time of the first Spanish contact. Juan de Onate sent Captain Marcos Farfan to investigate the lake in 1598, and the captain reported that he was certain that he had never seen or felt there anything at the Salt Lake so grand, nor has the kind of anything so equal to the Salt Lake area. To the later Hispanic explorers and settlers, such as Bernardo de Maria Pacheco and Jose de Zuniga, the lake was known as Salinas, but that's just the Spanish giving them a name in their language. You know, famous Apache Geronimo, in his storybook of his life, reported that the the following thing about the lake was, we obtained our salt from the little lake in the Gila Mountains, which Gila Mountains are near the Salt Lake area. And when we obtained the salt, when visiting this lake, our people, this is Geronimo quoting now, our people were not allowed to even kill game or attack any enemy. All creatures were free to go and come without any fear while around Salt Lake. This is one of the things that was documented about the Salt Lake in the early part by early ethnologists that came and probably visited Zunis, such as Matilda Cox Stevenson, Ruth Bunzel, and, Ruth Benedict. So these are some of the documents they have. Now, I'm going to go up and give you a Zuni version. However, when I do this, I will first tell you about what Zuni folklore is about, first of all. And I will point out some things, and I will show you this picture again, and I will talk more about what the Zuni say about it. First of all, the folklore about Zuni Salt Lake. This is an aerial view of the Salt Lake closer. The folklore to me was given to me by a Zuni elder who at the time was a leader of the Zuni Galaxy fraternity. And I was probably at the age of 11 or 12 when he started telling me about this, because this really is, to me, at the time when he told me, I really, listened to him and gathered the information, but I never really ever put it to use or passed it down. So y'all are getting the first version of it that I'm first passing it down to. So be honored because I am giving it to y'all. The geographic location basically is, we're not going to pinpoint the location, but I'm going to tell you why and where this is at. It's located on the continental divide, drift. And continental divide, as you know, runs from South America all the way up to North America, all Central America and everything, all the way up north from like south to North Pole. Around where the Salt Lake is, where the Continental Divide is, it's where it's the convergence of the Atlantic and the Pacific plates. So, if you go to Zuni, you'll see some of the mountains at a 45-degree angle. If you look at the strata, the mountains will have 45-degree strata because on the Pacific tectonic, it's on top of the Atlantic to where, the Atlantic is under it and the Pacific is raised up to where the mountain strata is at a 45 degree. So that's where, Salt Lake is on that continental divide, area. The crater, which is right down here, I'm circling it with my little arrow here. That's the crater right here. See it? I'm putting a circle around it. Me, that's a crater. Visualize that because you know my next slide will have the same thing, but I'll explain more about it. Now, the Salt Lake is this white part area, you know, and then the volcano vent is right here. This is the volcano vent. And so, you know, this is the Zuni Salt Lake. Now, in the 60s, if I remember right, in the 60s, or maybe earlier, probably 40s, 50s, the Zuni started commercially mining this Salt Lake. And if you can see up close in this area, there is a house, and by that house, they used to have some troughs where they will pump this Salt Lake salt water into those troughs and let the water evaporate. And when the water evaporates, it will leave salt behind. And then whoever is there used to be a person living here in the area to where whoever was doing that for the Zunis, once it becomes salt, he would shovel it up, gather it up, and start sacking it. And people will come and get the salt from him. And so Zun, that's how they commercially salted, mined the salt. And mostly when they mined the salt, it was for the livestock. Because I remember one time I went with my grandpa and we got about maybe 10. That's all we could put in a vehicle because salt is very heavy. We put 10, burlap bags of salt and that vehicle, I mean, that truck was, already almost down to the ground when we left. So, and we got it for the livestock. We didn't do it for anything else other than for the livestock. So, this is this area footage of Zuni Salt Lake, the volcano vent, the crater, and then the salt. Now, I give you this up close about the vent because this is a Salt Lake. This is all salty. The Zuni people, when we come and we mine the salt, we're supposed to go in there. In this crater is fresh water. It's not salt. I mean, so clean that you can actually drink. And that water is so purifying that, after you go through the Salt Lake, you come out all salty and everything. If you go in there and wash yourself, all the salt will just come right off of you. So inside this crater is there's some water, fresh water, and this is an aquifer that comes through. Um, they now call it the Ganado Basin, which is going to the Gila River. But this aquifer is so big, and that's why the Zunis did not want it to be strip mined not too far from here, because they were afraid that they might tap into the aquifer to where it would never produce any more salt because it would stop the water coming into the salt lake because that's how the salt lake is fed because the aquifer would put some water in it and with the salt belt in here the salt will come up rise up and when the water evaporates it turns into salt and then we mine the salt. But if it's a rainy season, mining salt is real hard because most of the time the fresh rainwater will dissolve the salt right away. So we have to wait till the dry season. And normally you can go um, mine salt traditionally in the month of July, August, and September because those are our dry months before monsoon hits. But anyway, this is the vent that I'm telling you about uh, that has fresh water in it, and it's still there, still there. I mean, now I gave this area a shot again because now this is what I was told. I didn't put any notes in here because I don't want to I guess really expose the folklore about it, but I'm sharing it with y'all. This area around here, according to the elder that was talking to me about it, he told me visualize the Salt Lake of how it is. Look at the crater around it, and he called it the crater. And I said, yeah, him being from Galaxy Fraternity, he believed in space beings. He said, he told me that this place right here, a star fell. But as we talked about more, and I keep telling him, what kind of star was it? What kind of star was it? And I said, and he finally said, it was a spaceship. When it fell into this plane. And when it did, it hit the salt belt underneath Mother Earth because at one time, this whole thing was underwater. This whole area was underwater, I guess during the Great Flood. And we all know that the ocean water is salty. And when the water evaporated, it created salt belt, which there's another one in Salt Lake City, Utah. This is in Zuni. It's a salt belt. We don't know what extent of it is or anything because when that he said that when that spaceship, landed or crashed into this earth, it like pierced in to the salt belt to where the salt came up and with the water and it hit the aquifer, it came up into the crater. And this is why this is the lake. And when the salt and when the water evaporates, because this is a desert area, so it doesn't take much for the water to evaporate. When it evaporates, it leaves salt behind. And I don't know how far back and everything it was founded by Zunis, but all he said was, "This is why we have this crater." Now, he also said that the Mother Earth was so tender at the time that the lava flow being in a continental drift because of we in the convergence. This area is probably about 6,000 above sea level, 6,000 feet above sea level. So the convergence lifted up the plate to where there is lava within the crest of that. And if you ever go by this area, you can count up to 14 volcanoes that is in line with the continental divide. And I always stop at one place on Highway 53 between Rama and El Moro, and I used to stop and just count as as far as my eye can see all the volcano cones that are in line through that area, and it goes through all the way up to Colorado. So this is one of the things that he told me is that when this spaceship hit, it pierced a hole into the salt belt, and when it came out with the water with the aquifer underneath it, it brought the salt up to the surface, and that's when Salt Lake created. However, it also pierced a part of where there was a, you know, I would say a vein of a lava flow to where it hit, to where this volcano vent popped out, and it popped out like a bubble. He said, popped out like a bubble, and that's why it's that's the shape of it. And once it popped out like a bubble, all this volcano ash filterized the water that is underneath the aquifer. That this when it has water in here from the aquifer, and that water is fresh, so fresh that you can drink it. But now this deity that takes care of Salt Lake again is Mother Salt. We call her Matlokatsiki. So this is the folklore that I have been told by an elder man who was at one time he was towards his latter years in life. He was a leader of the Galaxy fraternity, and I can see the crater all the way around. I can see the volcano vent that he was talking about, and I can see the Salt Lake, and there is aquifer underneath there. And again, with that aquifer down there, it's probably next to a salt belt where it brings the salt water up, and when it evaporates, it leaves the salt in the lake. So this is our folklore of the Zuni Salt Lake. Now, as I continue my folklores about Zuni, the next one is going to be about the first contact with the Zuni people. So I just want to say that you know I enjoy sharing some of these information that was passed down to me with y'all. And again, if you need to get a hold of us, we are at healthy and harmonious lifestyle.com, which is our website, or you can like and subscribe to this YouTube channel under One Nation Tribal Alliance on YouTube. And, you know, I hope you're enjoying the videos. And again, join our One Nation Tribal Alliance tribe on Facebook. And we would love to have you come aboard. So, again, thank you for your time. Thank you for, enjoying these videos. Like and subscribe. And I love y'all. And I will continue to share the information that was shared to me. And so, y'all have a wonderful, blessed week. Thank you. I love you.